When was the last time you opened your pantry, twisted off a red or blue plastic lid, and slathered a thick, shiny spread onto a slice of hot toast for your kids or yourself, assuming you were giving them a wholesome, protein-packed Aussie staple? What if I told you that the smooth, glossy jar sitting in your kitchen right now might be less of a genuine nut butter and more of an ultra-processed vegetable fat paste laced with industrial emulsifiers, hidden sugars, and a silent, toxic mold risk that local regulatory bodies barely bother to audit? Most families across Australia buy these jars every single week, completely oblivious to the fact that they are paying premium prices for a product that has been systematically stripped of its actual food value to boost corporate profit margins. By the time you finish watching this investigation, you will know precisely how Australia's biggest supermarket chains and iconic spread brands have been quietly playing you for a fool. I will show you the exact lab findings, hidden ingredients, and sneaky labeling loopholes that allow multinational conglomerates to sell you hydrogenated oils disguised as healthy fat. We will crack open 7 of the most popular brands sold across Woolworths, Coles, ALDI, and local independent grocers. You will discover why that smooth texture you love is actually a red flag, how a famous reduced fat option is secretly a sugar bomb, and near the end, we will uncover a flagship brand with a horrifying history of industrial contamination and regulatory warnings that will make your jaw drop before you throw the jar straight into the bin. Before we start naming names, let's establish a dead simple truth about how real food works. True, authentic peanut butter requires exactly 2 ingredients: roasted peanuts and a pinch of salt. That is it. That is the entire recipe. When you grind a roasted peanut, its natural cell walls break down and release pure peanut oil. Because oil is less dense than solid nut particles, physics takes over. Over time, that natural golden oil floats lazily to the top of the jar. That floating layer of liquid gold is not a manufacturing mistake, nor is it a sign that the product has gone bad. It is absolute visual proof that what you hold in your hands is real, unadulterated food, behaving exactly as nature intended. So why does almost every mainstream jar on an Australian supermarket shelf look perfectly flat, solid, and homogeneous from the very top to the absolute bottom? Because natural physics is terrible for long corporate shelf lives and massive retail distribution networks. Food conglomerates realized decades ago that average consumers are terrified of a little oil separation. Stirring a jar for 10 seconds requires minimal physical effort, but corporate marketing teams decided it was easier to re-engineer the ingredient list using heavy industrial processing instead of educating the public. To freeze that oil in place permanently, big food manufacturers dump hydrogenated or fractionated vegetable fats, like palm oil or fully hydrogenated cottonseed and soybean oils, straight into the vat. They blast these cheap oils with heat and chemical catalysts until their molecular structure hardens into a rigid, waxy fat matrix at room temperature. This synthetic fat trap locks the natural peanut liquid in place so it can sit on a Woolies or Coles shelf for 2 years without moving a millimeter. To make matters worse, they toss in synthetic mono and diglycerides, industrial emulsifiers that bond water, sugar, and fat together into an indestructible, silky paste. It gets nastier when you look at the raw agricultural inputs. Peanuts are notoriously susceptible to a soil-borne fungus called aspergillus, which produces toxic secondary metabolites known as aflatoxins. Aflatoxins are potent, naturally occurring carcinogens that accumulate in the human liver over decades of daily consumption. Premium brands strictly sort their crops and run rigorous independent batch testing for these fungal toxins before and after production. Budget commercial brands, on the other hand, frequently hide behind minimal baseline compliance, keeping their testing data completely dark while sourcing cheap bulk crops. You are left eating a daily spoonful of chemical stabilizers, hidden fillers, and unverified fungal risks, all neatly packaged behind friendly primary school mascots and heritage labels. Let's start our descent into the supermarket hall of shame, ranking these 7 Australian spreads from the mildly sneaky to the downright appalling. Number 7 on the avoid list is Aldi's Bramwell's Smooth Peanut Butter. This is the plastic tub millions of budget-conscious Aussies grab during their weekly shop at ALDI, assuming it's an unpretentious bargain. At roughly $2.80 for a 375-gram jar, or around 75 cents per 100 grams, it seems like a win for your wallet. But let's look at why ALDI can sell it so cheap. Flip the yellow tub around and you will find vegetable oil, often hydrogenated palm oil, along with added sugar and mono and diglycerides of fatty acids. ALDI didn't formulate a cleaner product. They just duplicated the cheap industrial recipe of big-name commercial brands and stripped away the marketing budget. More concerning is the complete transparency vacuum surrounding peanut sourcing and fungal testing. Independent testing advocates like Choice frequently point out that private label discount lines provide zero published data regarding aflatoxin screening or crop origin. You are saving $1 up front in exchange for industrial vegetable fat, emulsifiers, and zero accountability regarding long-term contaminant safety. ALDI gives you cheap calories but cuts every quality corner to deliver them. Number 6 is Woolworths Essentials Peanut Butter. Sitting on the lowest shelf at Woolies for under $2.50, this basic tub targets students, large families, and pensioners looking to stretch every dollar. But when food auditor reviews break down the nutritional math, the bargain evaporates. Woolworths Essentials dilutes roasted peanut content by loading up the vat with vegetable oil, sugar, and salt. You are getting fewer actual nuts per spoonful than standard lines, meaning the protein density drops while refined fat and glycemic loads spike. Spread it on white bread and you get an ultra-sticky, cloying paste that clings to the roof of your mouth like industrial spackle. That artificial thickness comes directly from added hydrogenated oils engineered to simulate real nut density. A review by accredited Aussie dietitians noted that budget private label spreads like Essentials deliver up to 15% less real nut mass per serve compared to pure alternatives. You aren't saving money on peanuts, you are literally paying Woolies to ship you processed vegetable oil and refined sugar in a plastic tub. Number 5 brings us to a massive marketing scam. Kraft/Bega Light Smooth Peanut Butter Spread. When Bega acquired the iconic Australian peanut butter business from Kraft, millions of households kept buying the famous yellow lid jars out of pure nostalgia. But the light, or reduced fat variant sold across Coles and Woolworths is a masterclass in health halo deception. Consumers reach for it thinking they are making a heart-healthy choice to cut down on saturated fat. Here is the mechanical reality. When you strip out natural peanut fat to lower the fat metric on the panel, the product turns into a dry, chalky, unpalatable sludge. To fix the texture and taste, Bega pumps the formula full of maltodextrin, corn syrup solids, and extra sugar. In fact, a serving of this reduced fat formula delivers significantly more carbohydrates and sugar than the standard full-fat version, all to save a miserable 12 to 15 calories per 22-gram serve. Dietitian Dr. Rosemary Stanton has repeatedly warned Aussies about reduced-fat, ultra-processed foods that swap natural fats for fast-digesting refined carbohydrates. For anyone trying to manage blood sugar or insulin sensitivity, this product does the exact opposite of what the front label implies. It is a cynical, nutritional bait dash and dash switch. Number 4 is Carve Peanut Butter, imported from Europe and found in the international food aisles at Coles, IGA, and specialty European grocers across Australia. Carve positions itself as a continental, retro-style pantry classic, with a rustic glass jar that oozes old-world quality. But take a close look at the fine print on the back. Carve mixes its peanuts with fully hydrogenated vegetable oils, specifically palm and rapeseed oil, plus added sugar and salt. That hydrogenated rapeseed and palm oil mixture is added for one reason only: to stop natural oil separation so the jar can sit on a container ship for 6 months and then sit on an Australian shelf for another year without separating. The result is a dense, greasy texture that leaves a persistent waxy film on your tongue long after you swallow. That coating isn't peanut oil, it is hardened industrial fat that remains solid at human body temperature. You're paying a premium import price, often over $1.50 per 100 grams, for cheap European palm oil processing tricks wrapped in a glass jar. If you are realizing your own pantry is stacked with these industrial imposters, hit that subscribe button right now. We dig through the lab tests and corporate spin so you never get ripped off at the checkout again. Number 3 is Jif Creamy Peanut Butter. Imported directly from the US, this brand has invaded Australian shelves via Costco, USA specialty food shops, and major online grocery portals. Jif is famous for its massive global advertising campaigns and iconic branding. But under the hood, Jif is an absolute disaster of ultra-processing. The ingredient panel lists hydrogenated vegetable oils, soybean and rapeseed, alongside refined sugar and mono and diglycerides. In nutritionist quality rankings, standard Jif consistently sits right at the rock bottom of the category. The texture is notoriously slick, uniform, and hyper-processed. A spoon glides through it without meeting any natural grain or resistance because the product is held together by a synthetic fat network. You are paying top dollar for imported brand recognition while eating a concoction where vegetable oils and sugar do the heavy lifting for real nuts. Number 2 is Skippy Smooth Peanut Butter. Like Jif, Skippy is an iconic American brand that has secured a massive foothold in Australian Costco warehouses, Asian grocers, and independent supermarkets nationwide. For decades, Skippy built its empire on smooth, effortless spreadability. But in 2022, Skippy was hit with a massive headline-grabbing emergency recall across distribution channels after food safety authorities discovered stainless steel equipment fragments inside jars of their peanut butter. Manufacturing equipment had broken down during production, shearing sharp metal bits directly into the product before thousands of cases were shipped out to consumers. Beyond that terrifying safety breach, Skippy's formula is standard ultra-processed fare. Fully hydrogenated vegetable oil, sugar, and emulsifiers. Run a knife through a tub of Skippy and notice how unnaturally shiny and rubbery it looks. That uncanny consistency isn't craftsmanship. It is hydrogenated oil locking the spread into a permanent chemical suspension. Decades of trust, a major foreign recall involving metal shards in jars, and a bottom-tier additive profile, all hidden behind a bright, friendly label dot. Now we reach number 1 on the avoid list, the absolute king of corporate deception sitting in millions of Australian pantries, standard Bega Smooth Peanut Butter. Bega is an iconic Australian brand name. When Bega bought the Aussie peanut butter operations, they inherited the exact same factory in Port Melbourne that had been pumping out craft peanut butter for generations. They kept the iconic yellow lid, used Aussie pride in their television ads, and told us, never bite, always spread. Aussies trust Bega implicitly. We buy it because it feels like supporting local Aussie farmers. Here is the brutal truth behind that yellow lid. Standard Bega Smooth Peanut Butter contains added vegetable oil, sugar, and mono and diglycerides. Bega uses hydrogenated vegetable fats as stabilizers to prevent natural oil separation and keep the product permanently homogenized on Woolworths and Coles shelves. In peer-reviewed dietary evaluations of Australian commercial spreads, Standard Bega ranks near the bottom for pure ingredient integrity because of these unnecessary industrial additives. Even worse is the transparency gap regarding raw inputs and fungal monitoring. Peanuts grown and stored in humid agricultural conditions are constantly exposed to Aspergillus molds, which generate cancer-causing aflatoxins. While Food Standards Australia New Zealand sets legal maximum limits for aflatoxins in retail nuts, big commercial processors rely on spot-checking bulk shipments rather than providing batch-by-batch public verification for every single production run. When independent consumer groups like Choice test mainstream supermarket products, big commercial brands provide zero accessible batch data for everyday shoppers to verify. You are buying a brand that leverages Australian heritage and warm emotional nostalgia to sell you a product stabilized with hydrogenated vegetable fats, sweetened with refined sugar, and bound together with synthetic emulsifiers. You think you are buying pure local peanut butter. You are actually buying a heavily engineered commercial spread designed for maximum shelf life and corporate margin. Bega knows Aussies love the brand name, so they have zero incentive to clean up the base formula. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. We have systematically demolished the ultra-processed, vegetable oil-laden imposters sitting on Australian grocery shelves. Now it is time to look at the brands that actually respect your health, your wallet, and your taste buds. These 3 options contain zero hydrogenated oils, zero added sugars, and zero synthetic emulsifiers. Every single one of them is readily available across Australian supermarkets, organic shops, or independent grocers, giving you a clean, uncompromising option no matter what your grocery budget looks like. Starting off our best list at number 3 is Bega Simply Nuts. Yes, you read that correctly. Bega made the bad list for their standard formula, but their Simply Nuts line is a completely different beast that deserves real praise. Made in Australia, this line consists of literally 2 ingredients: 100% Australian roasted peanuts and sea salt. That is it. No vegetable oils, no hydrogenated fats, no emulsifiers, and zero added sugar. When you unscrew the lid, you will immediately notice a layer of natural golden peanut oil sitting on top. That is not a flaw, that is visual proof that physics is working normally and no industrial stabilizers were added to freeze the fat in place. Give it one good stir with a butter knife when you first open it, pop it in the pantry or fridge, and it stays smooth and perfectly spreadable without ever separating again. Sensory dash-wise, Bega Simply Nuts completely embarrasses standard commercial spreads. Because the peanuts are slow roasted with their skins intact before grinding, the flavor is intensely nutty, deep and rich, with a pleasant natural crunch or velvety grain, depending on whether you pick smooth or crunchy. Price-wise, it sits at around $5.50 to $6.00 for a 325-gram jar at Woolworths and Coles, frequently going on sale for under $4.50. That works out to roughly $1.60 to $1.80 per 100 grams. It is marginally more expensive per gram than the ultra-processed junk, but every single cent goes toward 100% real Australian-grown peanuts rather than cheap imported palm oil and refined sugar. Sports nutritionists and dietitians consistently highlight Bega Simply Nuts as the most accessible, high-quality gateway for everyday Aussie families transitioning away from processed spreads without breaking the household budget. Coming in at number 2 is Maver's Dark Roasted Peanut Butter. Based in Victoria, Maver's is a family-owned Australian business that revolutionised the local spread aisle by refusing to use palm oil, added sugar, or synthetic additives. Their dark roasted variant is an absolute masterclass in food crafting. The formula contains just 2 inputs, 99.5% certified high oleic peanuts and a tiny pinch of sea salt. By deep roasting Australian-grown peanuts, Maver's unlocks a smoky, intense, almost chocolatey richness that makes standard commercial peanut butter taste like sugary cardboard paste. When you scoop Maver's onto warm sourdough, the natural fats melt effortlessly, releasing an aroma that fills the entire kitchen. Because high oleic peanuts are naturally rich in heart-healthy monounsaturated fats, the exact same healthy fats found in extra virgin olive oil, Maver's provides superior cardiovascular benefits and exceptional oxidative stability. Independent food audits consistently rank Maver's among the cleanest commercial products in Australia, praising their strict quality control and total absence of hidden fillers. Available at Woolworths, Coles, ALDI and IGA for approximately $5.50 to $6.50 for a 375-gram jar, or roughly $1.50 per 100 grams. Maver's 50 per 100 grams. Maver's offers premium artisan quality at an everyday supermarket price point. The only minor downside is that because it contains 0 emulsifiers, the natural oil separation is quite pronounced on the shelf. A 10-second stir with a fork completely resolves it, making it an absolute staple for any health-conscious pantry. Taking the absolute number 1 spot on our best list is Macro Organic Peanut Butter, available exclusively at Woolworths, alongside Macro's independent organic equivalent, Absolute Organic. This is the absolute gold standard for clean, uncompromising nut butter in Australia. The ingredient list is uncompromisingly short. 100% USDA and ACO certified organic roasted peanuts, nothing else. No added salt, no added sugar, no vegetable oils, no palm oil, and 0 preservatives. What elevates Macro Organic and Absolute Organic to the absolute top rank is their rigorous testing protocol. Peanuts used in certified organic production are grown without synthetic pesticides or chemical fertilizers, and every batch undergoes stringent independent testing for aflatoxins and heavy metals before and after processing. For pregnant women, young children, or individuals managing chronic inflammation who need absolute assurance regarding toxic load and fungal residues, this double-certified organic standard offers bulletproof peace of mind that no commercial brand can match. The texture is silky, pure, and naturally sweet from the inherent sugars of organically grown peanuts, delivering a clean, unadulterated taste that lets real food shine. At approximately $5.00 to $6.00 for a 375-gram jar, just around $1.40 to $1.60 per 100 to $1.60 per 100 grams, it is remarkably affordable for a certified organic product, matching or even beating the price of heavily marketed corporate brands. You get 100% organic food density with 0 corporate chemical engineering. Now that you know which jars to throw in the bin and which ones deserve a permanent spot in your trolley, here are 5 dead simple rules for navigating the supermarket aisle yourself. First, flip the jar over immediately. If the ingredient list contains more than 2 items, put it back on the shelf. Second, treat words like hydrogenated vegetable oil, palm oil, or vegetable fat as absolute red flags. They exist solely to stop natural oil separation at the expense of your health. Third, watch out for the light or reduced fat trap. Whenever fat is stripped from peanut butter, manufacturers almost always replace it with refined sugars, corn syrup solids, or maltodextrin. Fourth, embrace the oil layer on top. Visible oil floating at the surface is a green flag confirming that no synthetic emulsifiers or hardened fats were added to freeze the jar's contents. Fifth, check for 100% Australian peanuts or certified organic stamps on the label, which guarantee higher sourcing standards and stricter contaminant testing protocols than cheap bulk imports. At the end of the day, the supermarket peanut butter aisle is a classic snapshot of modern food marketing deception. Big corporate brands spent decades convincing Australian families that a thick, shiny, non-separating spread was the mark of high quality, while quietly stuffing their jars with cheap industrial fats, refined sugars, and synthetic binders to cut manufacturing costs. Stopping this cycle doesn't require spending a fortune at boutique specialty stores or changing where you shop. It simply takes 1 second to turn the jar around at Woolies or Coles and choose real food over corporate chemical engineering. Thank you so much for taking the time to investigate what goes onto your plate every day. If this video helped open your eyes, please hit that share button and send it to your family, mates, or anyone you know who still buys standard commercial peanut butter out of habit without reading the label. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Which peanut butter brand is sitting in your kitchen pantry right now? And are you going to throw it out after watching this? Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming expose, where we take a deep dive into Australian supermarket olive oils and uncover which popular brands are secretly diluting their extra virgin bottles with cheap seed oils. Stop falling for corporate slickness, vote with your wallet, and eat real food.